Hello and welcome to Continuously Refined. I'm Shayna.
And I'm Sicily.
Today, in episode 28, we are talking all about cycle syncing, which has been a really big topic in our society and on social media. I have seen so much content about cycle syncing, and I think a lot of listeners don't really know where to start. I think also a lot of girls our age don't even know what the four phases of their cycle are, which makes it extremely challenging to cycle your life to your cycles if you don't, or align your life to your cycles if you don't even know what you're trying to align. And so I think that's become a big, big issue in our educational system and our healthcare system, that we don't even know the cycles and we don't even know what's happening in our bodies.
Yeah, and it's such an easy thing for us to look into and to learn about. I know we talk a lot about a lot of the things that we talk about, how they're kind of hard to research and you really have to dig into. If you just search cycle syncing, you will see the research and all the information about it, and it is out there and it is easy to find. Like Shanna said, it's been kind of a newer thing that is coming up more, but it's something that I think really helps people. And like we've even talked about how we notice for ourselves just things in our body changing, and like we can't lift as heavy one week and then the next week we're able to lift 15 pounds way easier, and we couldn't even do 8 the week before. Like you just notice the things in your body once you start to actually work to understand it.
Yes, I 100% agree that both Cicely and I are huge advocates for when you know the science behind what is going on in your bodies, you start to become aware and knowledgeable and in tune with what your body is trying to tell you when it has different symptoms. So I think we kind of just jump into what are the four cycles that a woman goes through in their what we would call menstrual phase, or those 28 days. So I'll jump into the first two being menstrual. The first one phase is your menstrual phase. So this is days 1 to 5. Day one is the first day you get your period. This is the uterine lining that is shedding, and it's considered your period. I think most people know this. That is day one of your cycle. And then the second phase that follows the menstrual phase or follows your period is your follicular phase. And so that begins on around day 6, whenever your period ends. And this is a very big phase. This is days 6 to days 14, give or take your specific body. It is when the brain signals to the ovaries to mature in eggs to start getting that egg ready for release, and the uterine lining begins to rebuild.
Then you kind of move into the ovulatory phase. So now your body is saying that it's more prepared, it is ready. And these are days 15 to 17. It can kind of vary based on your cycle specifically. But you can check this via your basal body temperature. And this is when you have a mature egg that is officially ready to be released from the ovary. Then you move into your final phase, which is the luteal phase. This is known as kind of the phase that you're slower in. You're normally a lot more tired. It's days 18 to 28, and it's your body just preparing for pregnancy. If an egg has not been fertilized, then your hormone levels drop, and they drop pretty quickly, and your cycle then resets in this time to then be ready to start for your menstrual phase.
And cycle syncing is pretty much aligning your diet, exercise, and overall lifestyle with these four phases that we just talked about of the menstrual cycle. So, depending on your hormone levels, you can eat certain foods to help decrease those symptoms, or you'll really notice it and during exercise, how some days of the month you are just tired and exhausted, and you can't exercise the way that you did a few days ago. So it really helps improve hormone balance, energy levels, mood, and performance for exercise. And the number one thing that I have noticed in becoming aware of what my body's doing and then making changes is it has significantly decreased my PMS, which we know about, we've heard about. It's premenstrual symptoms. So it's those symptoms that happen at the end of your luteal phase before your menstrual cycle begins, and you are just like upset and pissed off at everything, and your stomach is cramping, and you are starving and tired. And so, what I've noticed in the last like 6 months by trying to get a regular cycle is I barely have any PMS. I mean, it is very, very slight symptoms because what I'm doing to prep my body for its menstrual cycle and while it goes through it, it's amazing what you can do when you really align your body with what it's going through rather than trying to fight it.
Yeah. I feel like, especially once you align your diet too, that's something that I think when I first heard about cycle syncing, I thought all about the exercise portion and that there's all these different ways you can exercise based on what phase you're in. But your body, and we've talked about this before, when your body is craving certain things, that means it needs certain things. So if your body's craving chocolate during your menstrual phase, it's probably because it needs more magnesium or different things that your body actually wants and needs for that phase of your cycle. And once you start eating that way and making those diet changes, you will notice symptoms like PMS start to disappear because you're giving your body essentially what it needs to be able to go through these phases.
Yeah, it's really incredible if our doctors or our school system would just tell us about it. It's so
Yeah.
frustrating. So specifically, we're going to dive into each phase and then what you can do to support that phase. So, your menstrual phase, this is when your hormones are at their lowest because you're on your period and you're shedding your lining. So, you really want to focus during these about 5 days on rest and recovery. Get your body is working so hard inside of you. So, give it that time to lie down. Your energy is very, very low. So, when you're looking at foods, you want to focus on warm foods. So, soups or hot, nothing too cold that is harsh. So, warm foods, iron rich foods that's going to help replenish the iron that you lost. Think about bone broths, lentils and beans, spinach, red meat, and beets are really, really good during this phase. It's also important to stay hydrated. So think about cucumbers and watermelon and drinking lots of water. When it comes to exercise, very gentle movements, stretching, walking, yoga, light Pilates. And it is okay to not have to hit your workout goals every single day or every single week of the month. But if it's tired, give it that time to relax, but stay moving. Go for a walk. I love a light Pilates class or light yoga. I think it really, really helps. And then jumping into that follicular phase, which is a pretty long one. This is when your estrogen is rising. So you're going to start to feel a lot more energized, or people say they start to feel creative. You want to focus on light, fresh foods that are supporting that estrogen production because you want to get that estrogen to its peak level when it does ovulate in the next cycle. You can eat leafy greens, lean proteins, eggs, quinoa, and berries are all known foods to help with that estrogen production. And I love adding in fermented foods. So if you can do a pickled ginger, kimchi, sauerkraut, um, I really love pickled onions. Throw some of those on my meals. That helps with the digestion, clearing out of the gut, and getting your body ready for that estrogen peak that it's about to experience.
And then moving into the ovulatory phase. So, your next phase is when your estrogen really peaks. So, you have your high energy, you're feeling super social. I think everyone is normally able to tell when they're in their ovulatory phase because they feel social, they want to go out, they want to talk to people. And so, some foods that are super helpful during this phase are anti inflammatory and very fiber rich foods. So, things like raw veggies, your vegetables that are like broccoli and kale, anything like that is going to really help you just be able to balance with this high energy that you're feeling. And foods that are very rich in zinc. So, pumpkin seeds and oysters, sesame seeds, anything like that will be helpful during this phase. As for exercise, because you do have that energy, you can do workouts like your high intensity workouts. So, cycling, spinning, HIIT workouts, strength training, if you're into running and sprints, things like this do support this phase well. Then you move into the luteal phase, which is personally my least favorite phase. I
It's
hate
tough.
this one. But it's when your progesterone rises. And so you can possibly start to experience those PMS symptoms, which we've talked about. Your mood also shifts a lot. You just really notice that you start to just feel kind of tired, maybe a little sluggish. You should really focus on self care, on winding down, take that bath, that extra moment to just rest. Your energy starts high at the beginning of the phase because you're coming off that high of the ovulatory phase, and then it drops pretty quickly. And so, some foods that can help combat that are complex carbs. Those kind of help with your mood and your PMS symptoms. Foods like sweet potatoes, brown rice, bananas, and dark chocolate, and magnesium rich foods. So, those are your nuts, your seeds, your leafy greens. Exercise for this phase is moderate workouts, so Pilates, strength training. As you move farther into your luteal phase and closer to your period, switching to yoga, stretching, walking, starting to like appreciate your body slowing down. And while we say like these are the things that are the most important to eat and these are the exercises that are the most important in all of these phases, it's really important to listen to your body. So if you're in your ovulatory phase and you're not feeling the high intensity workouts, listen to your body and appreciate that and say, okay, the most I can do is strength train today. Luteal phase, same thing. You start high and then you drop low with your hormones. So listening to that and being like, it's okay if my workout today was yoga. And like Shayna was saying, you're not hitting the exact goal you had from before.
This is so true. And I think every woman can take a little piece from this episode and then kind of apply it to their life. And something that Cicely told me, I'm really curious for you to dive into this one a little bit, is revolving around birth control. And so many women around our age, especially, are on the birth control contraceptive pill. And that kind of really messes with this.
Yeah, so if you think about it, when you are on birth control, you are suppressing your entire menstrual cycle. You are making sure that your body cannot ovulate so that it cannot have children and you can't get pregnant. And so, because of this, you kind of can't cycle sync. You don't get a cycle like the rest of us and like your body is supposed to. And so, your cycle is a lot more flat and doesn't have as many peaks and valleys as the rest of us. And so, in that case, I would say your cycle syncing would be just listening to your body and allowing your body's hormones to fluctuate the little bit that they will still fluctuate, and just kind of listening to that and being okay with changing based on that. Listen to those cravings a little bit and support those that way.
I'm going to go into my little tangent about how much I hate birth control, but I totally understand everyone has a different story and they need to choose what's best for their body. And I mean, I personally don't see any good use for birth control. There's so many other forms of contraceptive or getting rid of acne or stabilizing your hormones. But I think this is a perfect example of when you start to learn about the four phases of your cycle and then how birth control is completely suppressing it. So you don't have four phases. Your body is so stable until it needs to shed and until it needs to have a period. And something that my doctor has always said is you can have a period, but that doesn't mean you're healthy. If you are
Mm-hmm.
not ovulating, you are not healthy. Our body is supposed to be going through those four phases to the point where the estrogen is spiking and your brain is signaling to your ovaries to drop an egg. That signals health in our female bodies. And so I think it's just something like a PSA out there that if you are in birth control or you want to find other ways to regulate your hormones, there are ways and it is possible, but it takes hard work. And I was talking to my friend with about this yesterday is that a lot of times in our healthcare, they just like to throw band-aids on it because
Yeah.
it is a quick, simple, easy fix, but it's not solving the problem. And people are so scared to go through the hard work that it takes to actually fix it. But in the end, I can 100% say from experience, it is so worth it. It is so worth the 18 months to 2 years that I put of extremely hard work to get a cycle back and to get my period back. It is so worth it. And I feel better now than I ever did before. Um, and so, highly recommend to everyone if you are in that stage, it is worth it. You can do it,
Yeah.
and real results can be seen through the hard work.
Yeah. I think you brought up something else important in that too of how long all of your phases are supposed to be. And so we are supposed to go through all four phases, which you touched on. And I would also just caution, I hear so many people say, like, oh, my period only lasts 3 days. Like, I'm so lucky. And it's like, that means that something on your period is off. So your estrogen or your progesterone levels are off and you're not getting enough of them. Our bodies were created a certain way and your menstrual cycle should last around 5 days. If it's lasting too short or too long, then you most likely do have levels of your hormones that are off. Granted, you're still doing better than some of us that still struggle with irregular periods and different things, but there are definitely hormone levels there that are off. So I would just caution and be aware of these things. And once you start to learn about your body and start to know about it, you will truly feel better when you start supporting it in the ways that you're meant to support it, which is kind of what we just are like harping on in this episode, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I had so much fun recording this and even learning because I think I had heard online and seen little bits and pieces of everything, but hopefully in this episode we were able to throw everything in there in a quick amount of time and you guys can take little pieces of advice away from that and do one thing, right when your period's coming, change your exercise for 2 days and see the things that you change. We talk a lot about 80/20 and
Mm-hmm.
making those little lifestyle changes that are going to make a huge impact because then you're going to want to change your whole life once you start. So, thanks so much
100%.
for listening. We had a lot of fun. You guys can follow us on Instagram at continuously refined. And then we also post on our YouTube.
Yeah. So catch us on YouTube. Oh, that's a good note. We are slowly working off of Apple. So we may no longer be uploading on Apple, but all of our Apple listeners, you guys can still listen to us and watch us on YouTube. And so you can listen even just streaming on YouTube and not actually watching the video. So that is a possibility for you guys. But we will talk to you guys again in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.